y'all. It's Ejanae.
And it's Kimberly.
And welcome to Season 1 of Sonder Session Studio. This is where deep thoughts meet real laughs, hard feelings meet open arms, and life just gets to be life.
We ask questions, we stretch thinking, and we sit with nuance. We will feel, laugh, and learn together.
So let's sit back, relax, and get into it.
Hey guys, on today's episode of Sonder Sessions, we are going to be discussing conflict and all things about conflict. Conflict is a funny thing, and I think conflict is one of those things that most people don't know how to handle. Granted, it's a hard thing to handle, right? Because it's like no one ever wants to really be in conflict. You know, I think it sucks to have to deal with conflict, especially with people you care about. But I think it's an important conversation to have, and hopefully throughout this conversation we learn a little bit more about it, a little bit more about how to handle it, and more importantly, just kind of like conflict in all of its entirety, because it's not avoidable. You can't avoid conflict, and it's just a part of life. And the better that we are at handling conflict, the less scary conflict becomes. Because I don't think I always have a saying, are they going to beat you? Sometimes they will. That's a different conversation. But for the most part, I think for most people,
they won't.
They're not going to beat you. And I feel like oftentimes we act like people are literally going to beat us.
No, literally.
I'm not going to beat you, babe.
Stay safe.
You need to be okay. It's just an argument. It's just a disagreement. They're not going to beat you. Fingers crossed.
So the first main question we're going to address today is, are we trying to understand or are we trying to be right? So let's first talk about why conflict so quickly turns into trial. I think conflict turns into trial quickly because, like the question says, a lot of us are trying to be right. So when we're having conversations, we're ready to hit them with the, you did this, and the third. And a lot of people also like to, I feel like, hide behind I feel statements when it comes to conflict. And then that makes it a little harder to be like...
therapist language.
Yes, exactly. To have like a beneficial conversation without feeling like you're slighting the other person or hurting them in some way or shape or form.
You know, I've been to therapy. We've talked about this many times. And something that I've had to learn, even when I first started therapy, because I felt so empowered about, oh my God, my feelings are always valid. Your feelings are always valid. That doesn't mean they're always based in reality, though. And I think there's a difference.
Nor your reaction. I think I hate when people are always like, oh, like they react like that. That's okay because this, that, and the third happened.
You made me feel XYZ. You're an adult.
You know, regulate those emotions.
Remember as kids when our parents would take something from us and we would start screaming and hooting and hollering because, well, you took it away from me and I don't like that. It makes me feel sad. That doesn't give you the right to throw a temper tantrum.
It doesn't.
So you see what I'm saying? And I think that a lot of the times we get so caught up on like therapist language that we don't realize that there is a lot more to it than you think. And oftentimes the people who are using therapist language the most are people who don't even go to therapy. Let's relax.
Exactly.
I'm so glad you can identify your own emotions, but there's so much more than that. And the first step is realizing that you may feel something, but it doesn't mean what you feel is based on reality. That doesn't make your feelings any less valid because they're still very real, which makes them valid. But I think the importance in having conversations and the issue with conflict is that oftentimes your emotions, you play it off as it's fact, and it's not fact. For example, if I'm in the streets with my friend, and let's just say my friend decides to start talking to another person a lot more and I start to feel neglected, and I bring that up to my friend and my friend goes like, no, I wasn't neglecting you. I just didn't want that girl to feel alone. So I decided to kind of really help her out there. Were you neglected?
Dora, were you neglected?
Were you neglected? No, you weren't neglected. And clearly that wasn't your friend's intention. So usually the proper recourse would be like, oh, I understand now. I understand. You could still feel those feelings, which is where that empathy comes involved, where it's like, oh, okay, like, I'm sorry you feel neglected, but please understand that wasn't my intention. And like, here's what actually is happening, blah, 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 blah. But no, that's not what happens with conflict. What happens with conflict is I feel neglected, so therefore you neglected me. Right.
Okay, what about debate culture and winning when it comes to conversation, as well as the mixture of like receipts, evidence, and things like that in conversation? Do you know? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You know when people have the conversation and they're like, oh, you did this, that, and the third to me. And then they're like, okay, well, when have I done that? And then the person's like, well, I can't remember. And then the other person's like, well, if you can't remember, like, why is it such an issue? Like, how do you feel on that type of stance?
That's a hard question because I think on the one hand, it does help to kind of have concrete examples that I can pull from like when we're having the discussion. But also, too, just because I don't remember exactly what happened doesn't mean it didn't happen.
A lot of people have been saying that, quote unquote, asking for like receipts and stuff like that is manipulation. because they're telling you that they have felt quote unquote way. So like you should just take their word for it and change. But to me personally, like I respect that, but at the same time, if somebody's making you feel a certain way and there's not even one point of reference that you have, I do find that to be quite concerning. Like not even one point
I have
of
an example
reference.
of this, actually.
Okay.
I remember I was in a relationship and the person said that I was very stern. I think you were, because I actually talked to you about it. They said I was stern, and stern is a very specific word. I think of my dad. I think of like a male in my life who's just very
Or a
stern.
judge, yeah.
Or a judge, right? And don't get me wrong, I know that like my choice of diction is very peculiar and unique, and I know that I appear very differently than most people do. Like I know that, but stern was a word that I've never heard used to describe me. So when I asked this person, can you give me any examples? Like, what about me is stern? Like, what do I do? How do I say? Da da da. And it wasn't even me trying to like a gotcha moment. It was really me just like, I've never heard this in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. Couldn't answer the question. I don't know. You just are.
But I low-key think if the person genuinely can't fathom that they are what you say that they are, and you don't have like an example, like I would be so. I'm like, this is jarring as hell. Like, what do you mean jarring. I'm stern, but you can't tell me what example that I'm. It's very like jarring. I'm lost. Or like, am I living in the Matrix? Like, girl, what?
Yeah. So then I ended up asking, like, I asked a lot of people in my life what they thought about me, and if they thought I was stern, and they all looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? What I mean. You may be opinionated, but stern is like a very different word. And it was one of those things where it's like, I was just very confused because I think for me, if it is the fact that I am stern, I'd like to work on that.
Exactly.
I don't know what you're referencing. I don't know what you mean. You're just referring to the way that I speak. And it's like,
and without receipts or evidence or whatever, how can somebody really change their behavior?
Right, and this is clearly,
if you can't pinpoint it. Exactly.
And this is clearly something that's bothering you a lot. So I would hope that you would at least have some form of reference.
Shit, write it down. Like, put it in your notes, please.
I don't know, but like, I think sometimes, especially when it comes to other people's perceptions of you or just dealing with conflict in general, it usually really is just a difference in perspective. And when you are dealing with anything, where there's a difference in perspective, what usually happens, you give examples to help your perspective.
Exactly. Evidence-based information.
I get like how that could be seen as a little bit manipulative because like, I'm not going to always have examples on the spot. But again, I would hope that like, I don't know, that'd be something that we can work on together. I think the whole conversation about conflict, everyone thinks it's an argument.
Yes, or like a threat.
It's a threat, right? But like if you're telling me I'm stern and I'm like, how am I stern? I'm not asking you how am I stern so that I can rebuttal and be like, oh, well, I'm not actually that stern. That's not
exactly.
It's more like no, genuinely, how am I stern? What does that look like for you? Like, what does sternness look like for you? Like, how has that shown up for you? I don't know. Well,
and I think it's funny sometimes because even people can't even see certain behaviors in themselves. So I think it's funny that sometimes when they do these type of things, like tell you these things and they expect you to like be like, oh yeah, you're right. I have been stern. But it's like, if you can't even tell me an example and a lot of people don't see these type of behaviors in themselves, like what makes you think that I'm aware that I'm being so stern towards you, that I know what it is that's wrong that I can immediately fix.
Exactly. And you know, when it comes to the debate culture and winning, I love debating. It's my favorite pastime, debating. But I think when it comes to, if you're really dealing with conflict, when it comes to conflict resolution, there should be no reason why you should ever see a conversation with someone that you are trying to conflict resolve with as a debate.
Exactly.
And if you are seeing it as a debate, that is error number one. Because you are going into the conversation with the wrong intentions. If you're going in to win, you're not winning. We're not talking about politics or the difference between a waxing and waning moon. No, we're talking about emotions and feelings. Those aren't things you can win over. The idea of winning would be gaining mutual understanding. And I don't think I ever, like, maybe when I was younger, I used to go into those kinds of conversations with debates, but honestly, as an adult now, no, it's never a debate. It's a conversation of understanding.
Always a conversation. I hear people always think you want to argue when you want to have a conversation. It's so jarring. Like,
people are very defensive.
Oh my gosh.
I've actually learned quite recently that I can't really deal with dynamics where people are very defensive off it, because now I don't trust you to share conflict with you. And if I don't trust you enough to communicate with you, the relationship is operating off of our time. And if I'm always worried that everything I say to you, oh, well, what do you mean? Well, I never. all right, you know what, we're done, let's wrap it up. Let's just call it a day now. Because if I can't openly and honestly communicate and we can't find a way to really figure this out together without you getting offended every single time, there's no relationship to be had. Let's wrap it up, call it a day, and let's go home. Because I'm not doing that. How are you supposed to communicate through that?
Mm-hmm. No, literally. And then how social media has trained us to perform disagreement is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I feel like social media is the reason why everybody feels the need to be right. Because God forbid you're wrong, they will dox you, dogpile on you, cancel you. You really can't face conflict in any type of way in social media. So I feel like no wonder, yes, moral superior. No wonder everybody's just scared. They want to hide. They want to just live their life in secret because, guys, I'm scared of you people. Very, very scared. Very, very scared.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, you know, I personally, especially on social media, I admit a lot when I'm wrong. Because I think it's important, and I think a lot of people are wrong, and they try to kind of act morally superior, kind of like the jealousy conversation that we had
gosh, so
very
jarring.
early on, like in the year 2026, where we talked about that one girl who admitted that she was jealous of her friend, and all of a sudden everyone acts like jealousy was never even in their vocabulary in the first place. You're a liar.
Like everybody has a jealous friend and nobody's the jealous friend? What?
Which was a liar. And I think
a dirty one.
And I think that kind of level of being willfully obtuse is a part of a lot of conversations that we are trying to conflict resolute.
Exactly.
If you are trying to conflict resolute with someone, let me show you something. This is my ego. Watch this. I pulled it out of here where it comes from. This is my ego. Ready? Oh my God,
you have to let your ego go.
You have to let it go. If you really care about a person and you're trying to conflict resolute with someone and you're going into it with this big ego,
full of pride,
full of pride,
go to hell.
You want to be wrong because you're never wrong on the planet. You're a weirdo, and that relationship is never going to work. Now, there are cases in which the other person is really just crazy, but like honestly, truthfully, conflict resolution is important because you have to understand at the end of the day, you guys are a team, and that should be what you are working towards, not trying to win a debate.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of times people go into it like, I want to win a debate.
They do. Everybody wants to be right. I don't know, because it's not like you're winning a prize or anything. Like, at the end of the day, all you have is nothing. You win nothing. 100%. Honestly, most of the time when you're right, you end up losing something at the end of the day. So I don't know, like, genuinely.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time, no one ever wins a debate.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what's the point? Guys, relax.
Low key. Talk about avoidance, over-explaining, and survival responses. What do you mean over-explaining as a survival strategy?
I think a lot of people just believe if they keep going at it, they're going to understand. But I think there's a point in conversation where you need to be able to understand that sometimes you guys are not going to see eye to eye. Or what's even better is to understand that you guys are trying to understand each other's perspectives and not try to get each other to agree with each other. When people over-explain, it's like, well, there's this and there's that, and then there's the nuance, and there's the gray area, now there's semantics, and it's like, now there's connotations, and it's like, you're just piling on more and more and more and more, and all I'm hearing is fluff and fluff and fluff and fluff. By the end of all that fluff, the convo is probably dead, confused, turned around, and it's like, now what are we talking about? Nothing. A whole bunch of nothing. Somebody's probably started crying by now, I swear, or somebody's angry. So it's not productive. What you need to do is have clear cut communication. I also think you should never have a conversation when emotionally heightened, and I think that's also when a lot of over-explaining comes into play, because you're really emotionally frustrated and stuff like that, and now you're just like just flustering. You're just trying to just group things together.
People just really want to be understood too.
Yeah, they do.
Like, I'm thinking about it now, and like I remember, like I've spent a lot of time, one time or another, over explaining my point in hopes that like we're back and forth. I'm explaining it this way, and then this way,
exactly,
and this word, and then this word, and God forbid, Jesus, good to know that my English is really good. Like, good to know I have really, really good English to the point where I'm explaining this in 17 different fonts in 17 different ways, and still you're not getting it. And therefore, they're just never going to get it.
Exactly.
And that's just
what you have to be okay with that, though, also, that sometimes people are just not going to get it.
Yeah. And like, I actually had a conversation with someone. It was an argument that lasted like forever, where we got nowhere. And towards the end, I literally told them, I get exactly what you're saying. This is how you feel. And I guess from your perspective, I would get how you feel. Guess what, though? I disagree.
Exactly.
Sorry, babe, you think I'm going to agree with you? No, I disagree. I still think it doesn't make sense. I still think it's wrong. I had a person tell me in my life that they didn't know how to communicate, and that ignoring people was their form of communication, a form that I was simply supposed to accept.
Jarring.
Guess what? Good to know. Thank you for sharing your story. I don't accept it. Now what? Boom.
But also, some people do over-explain to like shy away from punishment rather than to clarify their conversation. Like, say somebody cheated, and and that's when it happens with, oh no, but she was just doing, I was doing this and I was doing this and it was happening this way and this was happening and I feel like over-explaining at the end of the day is just to confuse thy enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no shade to y'all over-explainers, but y'all confusing thy enemy.
You know what's funny? I think that's why for me, especially when I talk about past dynamics, I keep them very simple. Like my first relationship, like real one, when people ask me how it ends, I tell them or how it ended or why it ended. I tell them straight up, oh yeah, I was avoiding. It was my fault.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of things that went into play into that? Absolutely. Is it very nuanced? Absolutely. Want to know what the conclusion is? The same. I was an avoidant, so the relationship ended. Why am I gonna? Oh, but see, I was avoidant because my mom didn't love me. Who cares?
Grown up.
You were avoidant, and that's why the relationship ended. I think people always want to make sure that they're not being seen as the bad person.
Yeah.
Not being seen a certain type of way. But the gag is that if you're over-explaining in efforts to try and not seem a certain type of way, 9 times out of 10 you are that type of way. Mind. And unfortunately, over-explaining is not helping your case
at all.
People want that empathy. They want the empathy.
Exactly.
They're over-explaining. Well, I did this because of this. That's what, babe. The conclusion is still the same. Right. And just because I was an avoidant doesn't make me a bad person, doesn't make me any of those things. It just means that I was an avoidant and the relationship ended because of it. Next question is, how do we bring things up without blowing things up?
Like I said, I don't think it's good for people to enter conversations emotionally heightened when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're shocked, whatever it is. I think people need to start taking the time to really, and also if people like to journal, I think this is great for people who journal. You need to really start writing down, just thinking through your emotions. I think if you were able to articulate them, write them down or whatever, it's just going to happen. Conversation will flow better. There's going to be less room for error, less room for all this extra rah behavior, you understand? And again, like I said, when people go into conversations emotionally charged, it always leaves room for random reactions, aggressive reactions, and things like that. And honestly, that never adds to the conversation, only takes away from it, which honestly just furthers conflict. Now where are we? Nowhere.
The whole tone policing versus accountability thing is funny. I'm not a tone policer, but I will say this. One thing that I kind of make as a standard for all of my relationships, and I tell people off rip, don't you ever yell at me because there will no longer be a conversation after the fact.
That's valid.
Nor will they be a relationship. Don't look like a child. Who are you yelling at? Are you insane? Are you mad? And listen, I get the whole tone policing thing because I think oftentimes people like to latch onto tone to avoid accountability, which I get you don't like the way that they're talking to you, but you kind of just piss them off. So it's a very valid reason why they may have a little bit of a tone. Okay, maybe.
See, when I think about tone, my friend, she has a very monotone tone. So like when she speaks, like low-key probably think she doesn't give a fuck. But she does. So I think it's things like that kind of, it's like you can't tell because there's so many different. That's why it's so different having it like over text, over the phone, and over FaceTime versus in person. There's so many like things that you miss.
I think oftentimes a lot of people think that I'm very monotone. Granted, I feel like
really. I feel like let me sit the fuck up. I feel like your voice has a lot of inflections.
Yeah, apparently not many people think. So for me too, I think if I'm specifically having an argument with someone, I try to keep my voice relatively monotone.
I do too.
Because I don't want to yell and because I don't want to be mean. And I actually try and police my own tone when I'm having an argument with someone, which is why it oftentimes sounds more monotone than usual, because I just worry, like, if I don't control, it's going to be a problem. But yeah, I don't know. I think as long as you're not yelling at me, I think it's fine. I don't really care what your tone is. We can discuss that afterwards. But yeah, because if people are hurt, like I'm not going to sit here and police your tone. I will police your voice octave though, because don't let it get too high.
I have gotten tone allegations. Sorry, they've gotten me. They've told me that my tone is like, I guess like snarky or whatever. But I'm just like, it can be a lot worse. So I really was trying to, rein it in. So I was like, I'm lost, but I'm finding it.
I will say I can be very condescending.
That's what I know.
Tis a great talent for me.
I can't be that, but I can be I feel like I'm just rude. I don't know.
Power dynamics and confrontation. Who feels safe speaking up? I hate this stupid question.
No, because I get it though. And I'm thinking about this sometimes and also in terms of like bystanders and stuff like that. Like say like a girl sees this man who's like 6 foot, she's maybe like 5'3" 3 robbing this woman, like, is she gonna feel safe speaking up and being like, oh my god, he's robbing her, somebody come
No, I
or is
totally
she
get
gonna like
that.
run away? But like also I think in relationships also, but obviously there's like special like DV or like abuse and things like that. But also I just feel like, oh, I'm sorry, you
No,
continue.
you're good. Power dynamics and confrontation, who feels safe speaking up. I totally get the concept of it.
Mhm.
For me, I think in my past relationships, I've had a lot of trouble speaking up because I've dealt with people who took everything to heart. And I never want to like hurt anybody in particular, but I've learned, especially now thinking about kind of the relationships I want to foster in the future, I want to feel safe to if I tell you you're being a bitch.
What
so
type of
you
things
hate
were you
me.
saying that they were taking to heart?
So for example, with one of my exes,
Mm-hmm.
there was an issue where I felt like, oh, for example, birthday gift.
Mm-hmm.
I told my ex that I used to draw while my sister painted because like I don't like painting, but my sister and I we used to kind of like do arts and crafts together. She was always a painter and I was always a drawer. And like if you've seen any of my drawings, they're all black and white. I don't have color because I don't like painting. One of my exes got me a paint set.
And you see, some dummy would be like, well, it's a thought that counts. No, it's not. That's what I'm talking about. People are like, oh, it's a thought that counts. You thought so wrong.
Yeah, and I feel more like that's
I would have preferred a pencil graphite set. Like,
yeah.
what?
But, and I think for me, it was very hard for me to speak up. And I actually didn't end up speaking up about it because I feel like what I would say would be heard and it would just be taken offense of. Like if I said, listen, I appreciate your gift, but I don't like painting.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it would have been taken as so you hate me. Low-key.
Really?
And I think for me, it was very hard to kind of open up in that case. Like even now, I'm kind of in a dynamic with where it's like, anyway, where it's like this person is always so worried about how I look at them that if I were to ever say anything that isn't positive about them, they would take it so severely to heart that it would like be so dramatic and so intense that I just don't want to say anything at all. Even if it's like, so what I've learned to do, which I'm starting not to like about myself, is instead of asking people things straight up, I've learned that people already know the answer to 99% of their problems. They just want to lie and pretend like they don't. So I ask them questions. If you feel like I wouldn't like this about you, do you like it about yourself? Do you expect me to like it if you don't like it? And I just ask them clarifying questions so that I never have to, which may be a little bit manipulative. I'm thinking about it now, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. It's like there's some people out there who I don't trust can handle my like emotions constructively and we can have a constructive conversation. There's only one person that I've been in a romantic relationship in where I felt like I was comfortable enough to do that. I just didn't have the facilities or the tools to do it at the time.
Do you think you'll get to a place where you can just say whatever you want to say regardless of how you think they're going to feel?
Absolutely.
I think that's where I'm at. I think that's why I'm so like, I don't know. I think that's why I was so easily able to tell that girl when she reached back out to me to apologize and like, I guess rekindle the friendship. I was like, we literally cannot be friends. Like, this is not something, these are not qualities I want in a friend. Like, we just can't do it. Like,
I think I definitely will get to that point.
Yeah.
I think it just requires me to find the right people in my life that I can trust my emotions with, or just anything with in general.
No, you should be able to do that with anybody.
I don't think that's true.
I do it with everybody.
Relearning how to listen instead of preparing for a response. I actually, I've kind of done this thing now where I don't really speak that much anymore. I used to be a yapper, which I still am. Granted, my whole page is about me yapping for minutes on end. But when it comes to talking to people in real life, I don't actually speak that much. We had a conversation earlier, I don't think on camera, about how I used to get told I was very argumentative and how I was very opinionated, which I am still very opinionated, and I would argue equally as argumentative. I just learned how to not argue anymore, and I just learned to listen. And I think once you learn how to accept that sometimes you don't need to always butt in your own feelings when someone is talking about theirs, it becomes very easy to listen. So most of the time when I'm having a conversation now, I'm just listening, and I'm asking a lot of questions before I even prepare a response because I need to know what is going on. I think about like, I have a sales background. I started off in automotive sales and I did real estate sales for a bit. And what they teach us is you're figuring out what they want so you can give them what they want. You are figuring out what kind of car they want.
Girl, bye. This reminds us that we had the same training working at Lush. They made us go through all this need and want customer nonsense. We worked at Lush back in high school, and we had to take all this training stuff. It was ridiculous.
But it's similar. It's kind of like you're asking a lot of clarifying questions to get a better understanding of that person and what they're looking for.
Marketing.
So I kind of apply that a little bit in like my conflicts where I'm asking clarifying questions to understand your point of view before I butt in and try and yap about mine.
I typically don't even have questions when I'm trying to really think. Confrontation for me, I feel like when I typically go into it, I already, like I'm so nobody ever confronts me. I'm always the confronter typically. So like I'm always prepared. So I guess I never really have to listen. I'm just listening to what you're saying back to me most of the time. So I feel like I'm rarely in that situation where I have to like listen. But like if I'm just like talking to my, like just in general, like talking to my friends, like a lot of people in my life come to me for advice. So I think that's where I became a great listener in that retrospect, because, you know, at the end of the day, when people are asking you for advice or like talking to you, it's never not looking for an answer. It's just really help. They want you to help them understand what they're going through and how to continue like their situation or whatever, which is fine. But yeah, I'm always the one confronting somebody else most of the time.
So would you say that you maybe need to become a better listener? Because even if you do confront someone, wouldn't you still have to kind of listen and understand their response?
Yeah, but I feel like I'm a great listener. I don't think I've ever been a bad listener. I've just always been a talker. Like that's always been my thing. But you know, I already learned time and place. So
then would you say that you are working to relearn how to listen instead of preparing for a response?
If you're learning how to listen, I think I'm a pretty good active listener.
Right, but you said that you were a talker, so it sounds like you are always ready for a response.
I'm always ready for a response, like since I was a kid, but like that doesn't mean I always respond. I always have a response though. I will always have a response. I always have an answer to the question. It's rarely like I don't know. Unless like I said, when I was a kid, my parents used to be like, why you always have an answer to questions? Because I do.
That's interesting. I think for me, when it comes to like this thing of like we're learning how to listen instead of preparing for a response, I think I'm also similar where I always also have a response, but I've learned how to dial it back just for the sake of listening. Because I think that just because you have a response doesn't mean it's the right one. So
exactly, which is why I rarely respond. Active listening is honestly the best thing you can do. Just let the person know that you're hearing them.
Yeah, I kind of just sit and like listen. Like I have, I don't think of an example, but like one of the arguments that I had with one of my exes was upset that I didn't want to post her on the Instagram, and I kind of just sat there, and instead of saying, "Well, no, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this," I was like, "Why does this make you so upset? It's just a photo, it's just Instagram. Help me understand why this is so important to you." And then, unfortunately, she did do a great job explaining, but I was able to read between the lines, and I kind of just responded truthfully. I said, "Listen, I don't post my relationships on the internet. This is before TikTok. Hold on. This is before TikTok. I don't post my relationships on the internet, not unless they've been 6 months long." Yeah, my first relationship, I didn't post them for 6 months. Boundaries during confrontation.
Boundaries during confrontation, timing, context, and consent. Guys, I do believe that confrontation, not that it has a timeline for per se, but I think if you don't bring something up within a respectable amount of time, whatever you and your whoever consider that, it just doesn't hold as much weight. Like you can't be giving me bare minimum for 3 months, and then 3 months down the line when I'm ready to cut you off, you're talking about my grandma died and I was in a car accident and my health is declining and I'm broke, and you couldn't tell me that when it was happening, so we weren't having a deteriorating relationship and stuff like that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't like when people, I think personally that is manipulative when people bring up all that shit at the end when confrontation is near. Like, now you're ready to finally spill the beans and be a mature human being. Like, now that we're done, it's not making sense to me.
I actually have a good example of this. So one of my ex-friends, we had an issue, and when I brought up the issue after the fact, all of a sudden it was like, well, I was thinking about this and I was thinking about that and I was doing this and I was doing that. So you had any and all opportunity to communicate that as it was happening, and you didn't, and you chose to act the way you did instead. And then now we both have to pay the consequences for your actions.
Literally.
Boundaries during confrontation, the boundaries where it triggers me, you guys.
Timing does matter. I want to say that I hate that people don't understand time and place when it comes to conflict. There's no reason you're screaming at your boyfriend in the middle of the restaurant, or you and your friend are fist fighting in the mall. Do you have discernment, decorum, manners, sense?
And you know something too? I think if I'm bringing up an issue with you, that's not your time to bring up 100 different
issues. It's not.
And that's an issue that I had with one of my past relationships, let's just say generally, was I brought up an issue and they waited until I brought up my issue to then air out all of their grievances. You don't have the floor right now.
You don't. You actually don't.
You had the floor plenty of times when the incident occurred that you could have talked about.
Senator Kim has the mic.
But then now all of a sudden you have nothing to say. And you have plenty to say, but did I give you the floor? You don't have the floor.
You don't have it.
I feel like imagine, hey, and this is something that I had an issue with in my first relationship. I would never bring up issues in the relationship. Granted, we're not, like I said, we don't need to give excuses. Let's move on. I never brought up conflict. And then one time they were like, you never bring up issues. Like, you never bring up anything. And I'm like, because I have nothing to bring up.
Clock.
Granted, I didn't at the time, but in hindsight, I'm realizing I had plenty to bring up. I just didn't know because, again, I did not have the facilities. But even then, it's like, it takes a lot of courage to bring up a conflict with somebody. You're dealing with...
Really? Do you feel like that?
I think so. I think for a lot of people it does. I think it's because you are risking being misunderstood. You are risking the relationship. You are risking a lot of things. It's very easy.
Damn, I really grew up in a conflict-averse home. I don't know.
LOL, I did not mean conflict-averse. I meant confrontational. Bye.
Like, it's very easy to just sit here and be like, you know what? I'm just going to ignore the problem and let resentment build up just to keep the peace, versus being like, no, I don't want to keep the peace. I want to have that conversation. It is hard. It's very hard, especially in a world where everyone is so quick to cut everybody off for no reason, just because you're bringing up an issue that could easily be solvable with communication and boundaries, right? I think for me, right, with my last little situation with, I think about it sometimes. Had I never brought up anything at all, we'd probably still be friends.
Mm-hmm.
But it was because I brought it up that now here we are. There's no relationship.
And this is what happens when people don't have confrontation. Like, you're really sitting in like fake relationships, fake friendships, like things that don't even match.
Exactly.
Like, you guys don't even connect for real, but you guys will never know that because you're living a lie.
But that's the thing. It does take a lot of courage to bring up conflict and to bring up issues that you have in a relationship, because there's this absolutely a risk involved in that. And my thing is that when you have that courage to bring it up, and then the other person uses your courage as a way to kind of, as an on-ramp to bring up their issues, A, I think it's a cop-out. B, I think it's mean. And C, I think it's absolutely useless. And no, you're not getting the freaking floor. I don't care. You can bring up your issues tomorrow. It's my show today. It's my show. I'm sitting here pacing back and forth on my room, trying to figure out how to bring this up, how I can sit you down on the table and be like, hey, I need to talk about this. I need to let this off on my chest. And you're like, oh, by the way, here is a list of issues I've had for the last 14 weeks. Vitamin-cool, I'm not doing it.
Go to hell.
I'm not doing it.
Go to bed.
I'm not doing it. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So there's absolutely a time and place. And more importantly, don't steal the floor. Don't steal the floor. You listen.
Very
and that
weird.
goes back to our whole, are you preparing for a response, or are you actively trying to listen?
Hello.
And hell, if you even want to bring it down while we're all talking and airing business out, deal with my issue first, and then we could talk about it.
Exactly. And then we can get to yours. But I have the floor first and foremost. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And on that topic, what about public versus private confrontation?
There's no what about it.
Do you think that there's any...
No.
She didn't let me finish.
No.
Oh,
Let me be.
I didn't even finish.
Let me be very clear. Okay? Why does the entirety of Applebee's need to be in your business?
It's so low budget, please.
A,
oh
and
my
B,
gosh.
and this is another thing with those social media stuff too, thinking about influencers. Why am I getting a play-by-play about your entire relationship after the fact on the internet? Unless this person was a terrible human being in which you just need to warn people about, which is fair, okay? There should be no reason, well, she cheated on me, she did this,
Everybody thinks they're on reality TV these days,
Right.
baby. You're not on reality TV. This is not Baddies. This is not VH1. This is not BET Network.
Right.
This is not E.
You guys are, some people act like they're children, that they have to say everything automatic. There's time and place.
Literally, they just can't hold it in. Like, you just have to know right now.
If I'm having an issue with somebody and we're in public, I'm gonna be like, listen, I'm not in the mood right now. What you did just offended me quietly. We'll talk about it when we get home. God forbid you have a home. Yes, I would hope. Please, I hope. But like, you have a home. Yes, you have a car. You have a private space. If you really need to talk, take it outside. Go into a little corner. Talk about it like human beings. Screaming up and down.
No, literally. Who went in hollering up and down the street? They calling the police.
You have absolutely zero decorum. Who raised you? I'm not doing that. No, you're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing your partner. You're embarrassing others around you. And more importantly, what do you expect to repair? What do you expect to get through? What do you expect to communicate about and understand when you out here arguing in public like children? Move on. You do it in a private space. And or like you said earlier, maybe don't do things when things are emotionally charged.
Exactly.
And just take the minute you need to take in the first place. Not everything needs to be hashed out automatically. I get that some people want to hash things out automatically, but it's okay to say, honestly, I'm ready to curse you out. So I'm going to take a minute.
Now we're talking apologies. So now that we've gone through conflict and stuff, how do we talk about apologies? And let's first talk about how I think a lot of people think apologies equal absolution.
Meaning?
They think that saying sorry means they've basically fixed the problem. And that's the issue. Oh my gosh, I actually have a quote from Malcolm X, guys. That's a perfect one about this. Ready? It says, this was obviously about like slavery and segregation, but it says, I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. If you pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that's below that the blow made. And they haven't even begun to pull the knife out, much less heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
And you know what? A great example of this personally, I had a situation with a person a few years ago, which was a really bad situation. We're going to call it Europe.
Nasty work. Yeah.
We're going to call it Europe. And in that situation, and by the end of it, the person who did the problem apologized. And I told that person straight up, listen, if you put me in a situation like this ever again, I'm out. I'm never speaking to you again, right? The same person, we're not friends anymore. And one of our last arguments, they said, we weren't friends since Europe. Why? Because you constantly you never moved on. You never moved past Europe. You never moved past what happened. You apologized for your behavior, then took it back, and then continuously made the same mistakes and continuously did the same behavior that put us in that situation in the first place. How am I supposed to move on? An apology is not an apology without actual change.
Hello.
What am I supposed to do? Hey, I'm sorry. You see how the chair?
I'm sorry.
You see how the chair's still green?
Oh, brother.
Oh my God! Look! I could slit. Boom. I'm sorry. I'm still bleeding. Now, if I stitched it up,
hello, got a Band-Aid, got some gauze, something, called the police, the ambulance, put in some effort.
If I put in effort, I stitched it up, I wrapped it, put some gauze in it, blah, 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 and I treated my arm like it was God on earth. Ever since then, boom, maybe that's an apology I can accept.
Exactly.
There might still be a scar there, but the work that you did to repair it speaks volumes in the actual damage that you made in the first place.
Exactly.
But no, here's what y'all do. Zinc.
They want to say
so
sorry.
Babe.
Mind you, they say sorry. People who are too quick to say sorry will typically just screw you over again and again and again and keep apologizing.
There's no real change.
The worst part is realizing that you are enabling them as well by allowing them to apologize, and you forgive them without even requiring any real change.
And here's
why would they change when they know all you require is an apology?
And that's what I'm saying. So for me, moving forward, like the Europe situation, I would never do that again. If I'm being put in a situation like that and the person doesn't show any real change, I'm done. I'm wrapped. Let's move on. Obviously, change takes time to actually implement, and like grace needs to be given for sure.
Yeah.
But that's where boundaries come into place. I set a boundary after that. And that person time and time again showed that that boundary wasn't one that they wanted to follow, wasn't one that they respected. And it was my error at that point. It was my fault for continuously being in a position in which like my boundaries are just constantly getting violated. Why are you staying at that point? So yeah, no, apology doesn't mean anything without actual change behind it. And I think too, when it comes to an apology, when I apologize to people, it's kind of like what I said before. I'm just being very frank. I feel like everyone can be frank with everything else except an apology. I'm so sorry that you feel this way because I just felt like, and I just.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm sorry. You're actually totally right.
And an apology should never have a but, by the way.
No, for real. And even then, maybe even if you don't understand their worldview, but you understand the impact of your action, because everyone doesn't know the difference between impact and intent, apparently.
Clearly.
It's simple. Listen. I apologize. I understand how what I did
hurt you
feel that
exactly
way or hurt you in that way, and I do apologize, and I hope that moving forward we can definitely find a way in the middle in which we could both feel heard and we can both avoid this situation in the future. Moving forward, I'll try to move this way, and moving forward, just let me know this, or just kind of finding some kind of common ground or middle ground or whatever. Boom, that's an apology, call it a day. Not, oh well, I'm sorry you feel that way. I just thought, you know,
no, crazy.
I'm gonna take that "what I" from your vocabulary and I'm gonna shove it up anyway.
Up your ass.
Anyway, yeah, it's very simple. If you are giving, I don't, one thing, and that's another thing about apologizing just in general. I'm also not a fan of people who overly apologize.
Me too.
Because it dilutes your apology. It dilutes it.
I used to be a type of person who rarely ever apologized. I used to be like, I'll apologize only if I feel it. And I became kind of, I don't know if it's kind of like mean of me to do. But when people started apologizing to me, I used to literally ask them every single time right after. I'm like, oh, do you mean that? And it was almost always no. So I'm always like, okay, so why are you apologizing to me?
I usually say, what are you apologizing for? And they'll be like, well, I don't know. Then why are you
apologizing? Then why are you, like, nobody's forcing you to do this. Like,
it's the same thing for me where, like, I think a lot of people take a lot of words and they just say things without their meanings and understanding.
Yeah.
The woman who cried wolf, a lot of the times people don't believe her when there was an actual wolf in the room. If you are constantly apologizing all the time for no reason, and you don't actually mean your apologies, when you actually need to apologize, I'm sorry, but I don't really care because you apologize. Like, for example, some like people who apologize just for existing. Like, they'll be there, we'll be sitting here, and oh, I'm sorry.
For what? Like, relax, babe. We're not gonna beat you up.
No. I just wasn't sure.
About what?
Let's relax. I think you're fine. I think you're totally fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to beat you. Okay. So no, like if people either overly apologize and don't mean it, it's the same thing with like the word "I love you." If you tell everybody you love them, do you actually love me? It's so easy for you to throw out the word "I love you."
Yes, but when I got to college, oh my lord.
Oh my God, girl, I love you so much.
Woo! My friends just asked me why I didn't say it back. I was like, guys, I
love you.
just met y'all. I don't know. Like you said, I've never been in love.
I had someone.
Y'all, my parents barely get that from me, so I don't know. Like, I'm trying.
I've had someone,
bear with me.
An apology isn't enough.
Ooh, yeah, and that is when the harm, exceeds the intent. Like we were talking about. Like you said, if somebody stubs your toe, they say that sorry, that's fine. But if somebody if somebody, for example, like cuts you off in traffic and you get into an accident because of them, you hit them or whatever, and then they get out and they're trying to blame you or whatever, and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, my bad, bro.
So I almost died.
I almost died. An 18-wheeler almost hit me. My insurance is about to go up. I have to get my car repaired. Baby, I'm going to need a little bit more than I'm sorry, I swear. I feel I'm going to need a little bit more. Like, it's not making sense at all.
I totally agree.
Right? Because what?
Yeah, I think, again, that whole impact versus intent thing doesn't really click in a lot of people's heads. Guys, and I hate to use this example, but I'm pretty sure people like Hitler intended to make Germany a better place.
Even Trump, guys, that's his quote unquote intention, Right. So they say.
So just because you have good intentions doesn't mean you have a good outcome.
Exactly.
And a lot of really, really bad people, you can argue, intended well.
Yeah. If
it wasn't for one group, it was for another group. Either way, the intent was still there. And the impact was horrible. Horrible. So I don't care what your intentions are. Thanos had arguably very noble intentions. I know this is very controversial, but when you really think
about it... Now he low-key ate. Sorry. I actually don't like him, but I'm thinking about the world now. our
but here's,
resources,
let's actually
we
think about
fighting
it.
for our life.
Let's actually think about it for a minute. Thanos had very good intentions. He saw his world
Mm-hmm.
basically get destroyed because of overpopulation.
Yeah.
This is a real issue.
It is.
It is a real issue that needs to be dealt with, that no one ever talks about and no one ever actually has a tangible solution for. And Thanos said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sacrifice myself, because Thanos had no intention to ever use the stones besides what he did.
Mm-hmm.
When he first achieved what he achieved, he literally just wasted away with his arm basically half dead, just,
no, literally, yeah.
He had no intention of doing anything else besides what he set out to do, which was save the universe by cutting the population in half so that more people can survive and so that more people could have better lives. Technically, if you think about it, he had great intentions, but the impact of his actions was terrible. So we asked the question, if it really is intent over impact, then what is wrong with Thanos and why is he a villain of the story?
That's down to everybody's morals and ethics at the end of the day, because it's like, who's to say he had the right to do that to a different world that wasn't his? Obviously his world died, but like, so it was like, who died and made him God, basically? Like, that's what he was doing. But like, obviously, whatever, like, but you know.
So we even think about one of the, not the Eternals, but like the big, not the Eternals, but
who's above them?
Where they come from, the Eternals, like Hiroshima and stuff like that. They're like the big guys. Have you seen the Fantastic Four movie, the new one?
I only seen the old ones.
Oh. Well, I think y'all know what I'm talking about. Like, they're Celestials! Boom!
Oh!
Celestials.
I thought the Eternals were Celestials.
No, they're made by Celestials.
Okay.
But like the Celestials, one of them, I forgot his name. I think Hiroshima, whatever. You guys know who I'm talking about. His whole thing is he eats planets, but he doesn't do it because he wants to. He does it because he has to keep the universe on a proper, like, he has to keep it balanced. Like, he has to.
No, that's, yeah, but I think the thing is, who gave Thanos that right? Like, he's a quote-unquote celestial, so he's like, I guess, a godlike creature or whatever. Right. So, like, that's different, I guess, in that retrospect. So he's supposed to be, like, God or whatever. Right. But it's like, Thanos is just
a guy.
Exactly.
But that's the thing. That's exactly what I agree with. Like, when we're thinking about the conversation of intent versus impact, Thanos had proper intentions. I don't think his intentions were bad. I think he had a real
I don't know. Okay, I guess. Okay,
I think his execution.
Well, now I'm thinking about other stuff, like what he did to Nebula and Gamora.
Yes,
and stuff like
I think his execution was the problem. I think his execution was horrible.
But who's to say that wasn't part of his intent?
That is true. It's true. Hey, Thanos, yo.
I'm crying, Thanos, yo.
Next. Let's talk about scenarios in which you play out conflict and confrontation.
Okay, first, letting go of closure fantasies. I feel like a lot of people have this idea in their mind of like getting closure, going back one last time, having one last conversation, you know, one last kiss, one last date, one last link, one last whatever, or like, you know, but it's like, what are you doing that for? Like, are you doing that because you want to have one last, like, oh yeah, like we can see if this is going to work for one last moment? Or are you doing that because you genuinely, but like, why, what type of closure does that really bring though?
I think people do it because they want to feel validated. I made a video about this before about how you need to stop expecting that person to one day wake up and realize that they did wrong, and you need to just accept the relationship as what it was and how it ended.
Exactly.
So when it comes to closure, closure is only closure when you feel like there's still something that you're missing from that person.
Yes.
You feel like you still need something from that person. For example, the relationships that I've lost over the last year, I would be so happy if I never saw them ever again.
Very valid.
I need closure. There's nothing to close. I'm free. To freedom!
But I feel like people don't really want closure when they go back.
They want validation.
They do,
They want to feel better. They want to feel like they were right. They want to feel like, oh, da-da-da-da. Like, they want to feel that. There's only one time where I've had an experience in which that person really, really wanted closure. And that was my first relationship, where they had a conversation with me and they genuinely just wanted to understand where I was coming from. They were genuinely so confused. Now, if they didn't care, would they want the closure? Probably not. But it's unreasonable to expect people just not to care. No, especially with dynamics like that. Like, it was a really, really serious relationship. So I get wanting closure in that regard. But at the same time, I also think that you also need to accept that sometimes closure will not be given.
Ooh, accepting that understanding isn't always mutual.
Is it ever mutual? Is the question? I think that's a great question. Is it ever mutual?
I think it can be. I think when two people are able to have a conversation with their egos put aside, they can come to a mutual understanding. I don't think there's always, I think more often than not, I've had like less mutual understandings, honestly, but I I don't know. I'd like to say that in the future I'd have more, but at this point, everybody's moving how they move. So
And here's the thing. Again, all of this stuff is great in theory, but I'm thinking practically, and I don't think most people have the facilities, the tools, or the capabilities at this moment to view what is required and what is necessary for some of these things. So, in terms of understanding, I don't think it's most of the time it isn't mutual, because even what you said, let's assume your equation, they need to let go of their ego. Most people don't do that. They need to listen. Most people don't do that. They need to put their pride aside. Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
So we are operating off of this hope that people are going to be able to do things that most people cannot do in general. So I think when it comes to understanding isn't always mutual, I think most of the time it isn't. Most of the time it isn't. And if you do find a dynamic in which someone really does understand you, hold on to it as tight as you can.
Tight as you can, y'all. Like, I promise it might not come again.
And, you know, I think about this a lot, and about, like, I think about when we watch, like, movies like Avatar, like, not The Last Airbender, but the other Avatar. Like
the Blue People? Pandora?
Yeah, Pandora. And, like, movies like that where we're looking at alien species or other species in the way, or even other animals in the way that they communicate with each other and how everything is linked.
Yes, one big ecosystem, y'all.
You know what's funny though?
Hierarchy.
I think it's almost implied in our nature that we are meant to misunderstand each other, because I just think about how fractured we are as individuals. I think, but listen, I think about it this way, right? You have your own worldview, right? And realistically, the only way for us to truly understand each other is if we were somehow all connected psychically. And maybe
not really. As childish as it sounds, like low-key kindness is really what's supposed to connect us all.
But kindness, here's the thing. Kindness may be what connects us all, but it's not enough to...
because I think is my basic world view, I guess, whatever, would definitely be like treat others how you want to be treated or whatever, and then like there that comes kindness after that. But
even then, not everyone's treatment or definition of treatment is the same thing. So even
exactly, but the thing is, you're supposed to treat them how you treat, like, unless I guess some people don't like themselves, so I don't.
I think of, like, when I think of the Avatar people in Pandora, I think of how easy it would be for us humans if we had something like that big tree. I forgot what it's called.
Easy for us to do what with that tree?
Communicate and understand each other. I think about the way that they consummate in that movie and how they are literally connected neurally. There's a neural link between them that helps them understand. We are in a constant state in which we are always trying to figure out and trying to understand each other. And I think there's a beauty in that.
I think we are, but I think that that's what people are just liars. I think people are just liars and avoiders. I think that's what it is.
That's implied in human nature.
That's fine, but like I don't think we don't have the capacity to be like
I never said that
people in Pandora. Like,
I never said we don't have the capacity.
The neural connection,
I just said it would be easier if we had that.
Really? You think so?
Easier. Yeah, because it requires a lot to be able to see through someone's eyes and through someone's perspective and through someone's worldview.
Oh, the ICU
thing. You are never
thing?
going to be able to see it through the next person's worldview. And I think there's a beauty in us as human beings because we are always trying to figure it out. We are always trying to find
I feel like I can see the worldview in some of my friends. Like, depending on how well I know them. People tell me a lot.
I think it's very
so
easy.
I feel like for the people that I know, they've told me a lot about themselves and their lives and their families and like what they've been through. So I can, which is why I was so not unaffected, but I think that's also what helped me reconcile with my friends so fast because I knew.
So I think you can to an extent see something from someone else's perspective for sure, but I don't think you'd ever be able to see it through their worldview. In the sense where, like,
I think that's debatable. I think it depends how much you know about another person.
I don't think you know everything about anything.
No, of course not. But people don't know everything about themselves.
I mean literally, like looking at the world with someone's eyes.
I think I can do that for some of my friends genuinely.
But here's the thing: I probably see a different kind of green than you see right now on that chair on this couch. I probably see, I don't know. I probably zoom in on different things. Like I've been staring at that for like the last 30 minutes. I'm not going to lie because that looks so interesting to me. This, you probably don't even pay attention to it because you've seen it so much, right? I see things literally differently than you see things, from the color that you see, from how hot and cold you are, from how you stand up. You're taller than me, so you probably see the world a slightly different way.
You frying me.
So I'm just saying, like,
she's trying to tell me I can't see my friend's worldview, y'all.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can't directly see anything the way that another person sees it. Like you can't.
Well, yeah, but I don't think people know themselves well enough to say that they even know their own worldview. So
ooh, not everybody. I know my worldview. I'm pretty self-assured.
I stand by what I said. But yeah.
I'm pretty I get what you mean though. I don't think most people know what they got going on. But for the people who do,
I don't think anybody fully does.
I think you know it in the moment.
Sure.
I think things
but
change.
a moment is fleeting. So
right. But if I know how I feel now, that doesn't take away the fact that
I just mean like at any given moment, are you 100% sure of your worldview?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the moment.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it's permanent. Just because something changes doesn't mean that I wasn't so sure about it as the time passed. Like I'm never going to change how I feel about racism.
Fraud, girl, what?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's always going to be my worldview 100% of the time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So there's certain things that will never change, but nuance applies. Like it reminds me of when parents would say, when you when you get kids, you'll understand. Or when you get older, you'll understand. Guess what? I'm older and I still don't understand. So what about that? You thought you ate with that? You thought I was going to understand that because I got older and I never did?
Like what, for example?
Like I think parents think that like I made a video the other day about how parents just pop up after 18 years, 20 years of mistreatment and decide, oh, we're just going to pretend like none of that ever happened and we're actually best friends. So they start showing up for you in the ways that you begged them to show up for you when you were younger as an adult. And then they're like, oh, I'm like, I don't want this now. Like, why are you coming at me? And they're like, oh, well, you'll get it one day when you're a parent. You'll get it one day when you're an adult.
That's because their parents did that to them and they, I guess, got it. That's their business.
Did they though? Because they're dealing with all the trauma. They still actually get it.
Well, they said that they got it, man. I guess they got it. That's what they got. They got that. They got. Y'all, OMG. I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation today on conflict and confrontation. I hope you learned a little bit about everything. We hit a little bit about different ideologies, different strategies, different types of confrontation, a quote here and there, our personal views. I hope you guys loved it. Anything to add? Oh, she's trying to get y'all to leave y'all friends, y'all partners. She said, just live your life, la vida loca, single.
I'm joking. I'll leave you guys with this little nugget of hope and wisdom. The more you know about yourself, the easier it would be to handle conflict and make decisions within conflict.
Yes, knowing yourself is the root of everything, baby. Anyways, y'all, bye. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment and whatever.
See you soon.